Welcome to Storytime with Herbal Roots zine. I'm Kristine Brown, and today I'm going to read to you a story I wrote for Herbal Roots zine issue number 25, Communing with Cottonwood. Do you have majestic cottonwoods growing in your area? If you live in North America near a body of fresh water, chances are good that you've got a few cottonwood trees growing nearby. Revered for the sticky resin that covers the leaf buds over the winter, this tree's medicine is loved not only by herbalists, but bees too, who use the resin to make propolis for sealing and protecting their hives. We love using cottonwood for healing cuts and scratches, burns, and inflammation, as well as for digestive issues and respiratory issues where mucus is stuck in the lungs. Cottonwood resin is also a very important substance for the bees. Today's story, A Friend for Cottonwood, shares how Cottonwood made a bee friend by sharing his gifts with the bee. The mighty cottonwood tree stood tall and proud, leaves shaking in the breeze. She was happy and lofty in her position near the riverbank and enjoyed watching the birds and the squirrels as they went about their daily business, although she was a little bit lonely. Because she was so high off the ground, no one really came up that far to visit her other than an occasional bird passing through. One day, a bee landed on her twig, flew around her trunk, and declared, "We shall build our home here." To the cottonwood's amazement, a hive of bees got busy building their home in a hollow of her trunk. As spring progressed, the cottonwood and the bee became good friends. "Good day, little bee," said the cottonwood to her tenant when he poked his head out of the hive each morning. The bee would buzz his greeting and fly to the male tree's catkins to collect the pollen and then fly back to her catkins to help pollinate them on his way back to his home. One morning, after a thunderstorm, the bee came out of his hive, but was not his usual buzzing self. He sat on a leaf and sighed. "What's wrong, dear bee friend?" the cottonwood tree asked. "My home keeps leaking whenever it rains, and I don't know what to do. There are gaps in the roof, and it leaks," the bee sighed again. "Oh dear, perhaps some of my seed fluff could help to fill the gaps," the cottonwood tree suggested. "You were kind enough to help pollinate my flowers so that I could produce seeds, so I would be happy to share some with you." Buzzed the bee. "I'll give that a try." And with that, the bee gathered some of the fluff with his feet and he flew off to his hive. The fluff seemed to work, the hive didn't leak anymore, and the bee was happy. Summer progressed and soon fall brought about more thunderstorms. Again, the bee flew out of his hive one morning without a buzz in his flight. "Oh, little bee, why are you so sad?" the cottonwood asked him. "My hive is leaking again and winter is coming." "Oh no, here. My leaves are shedding now. Take some and stuff the cracks with them. That should get you through the winter." And so the bee and his family gathered some of her leaves and stuffed them in the cracks. They flew back into their hive and settled in for the winter. The cottonwood decided to settle down for a nap herself. One day in late winter, she heard a buzz and woke to feel the sun on her trunk and watched the bees go out for the cleansing flight. "Hello, friend," she called to the bee. "How is your hive holding out?" "Oh, it's starting to leak again," said the bee. "We may have to make a new home elsewhere, I'm afraid." "I would be sad to see you go," replied the cottonwood, sad to hear her friend may leave. "I have nothing else to offer right now as my buds are tightly shut." The cottonwood began to softly cry tears of resin from her buds, unhappy to lose her good friend. "What's this?" asked the bee, touching the sticky resin. "It's so sticky." The bee paused and then began to buzz loudly. His family heard him and came over to see what the buzz was all about. "Look at her tears," he exclaimed. "I bet this would work great to seal up our home." He and his family began gathering up the resinous tears as the cottonwood cried more to share her tears with her friends. Sure enough, the resin worked perfectly to seal up the cracks, and from then on, the bees would gather the cottonwood's resin each year to make propolis to seal and protect their hive. And the cottonwood was never lonely again with her busy bee family. I hope you enjoyed today's story. If you'd like to learn more about cottonwood, you can find the Cottonwood ebook in my shop. I'll put a link in the description below. You can also find lots more videos about cottonwood in Herb Club, Herbal Roots Zine's membership program for kids and their parents. Thanks for visiting Herbal Roots Zine for Storytime, and I'll see you next time.